I'd like to call the August 21st, 2025 meeting of the Public
You can get it downstairs. We're going to pick it up down.
Corporation Board of Directors to order. The first item on the agenda is a roll call of members. Let the record show that all members are present and Conrad is here virtually for a while. So.
Yes, and thank you for stepping in, Cherise.
No problem. Like old home week over here. Okay, second item is the adoption of the agenda. The agenda has been amended. Based on the draft that we received, the amended agenda was posted. So unless there are any changes, I would call for approval.
I think we just need to know that the current agenda is not compliant with election years, and so we will update the website to reflect those changes.
Okay. So this agenda is not in compliance with current open door laws, and this agenda will be amended and posted on the website to be in compliance.
So, I will make a motion to approve the agenda with the caveat that we will add the names, terms of the board members to the document that's currently on our website.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been motioned by Paul and seconded by Melissa. For the agenda, and since Conrad is still here, we'll do a roll call vote. Kyle?
Yes.
Aye.
Conrad?
He said aye.
Aye. Somewhere. Melissa?
Aye.
Wrong. Aye. Paul? Aye. All right, motion passes. Okay, next up is the reading, correcting, and approval of minutes from previous meetings. So there is the minutes from the last meeting in July, and then the Planning and Development Committee meeting from July, and the External Stakeholder Relations Committee meeting from August.
Move for approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion from Nelson and a second from Raleigh to approve the minutes in the packet. Any discussion? All right, I will call for the vote. Raleigh? Aye. Vaughn?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Kyle?
Yes.
Conrad?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Next up is board committee reports. Executive Governance Committee. Conrad?
Yes. We had the executive session, but I don't believe we have any. I have the packet in front of me. I don't think there's any minutes in there that I recall, but there may be, other than just saying we had executive session. And I believe the date for the next scheduled meeting should be in the packet as well.
Yep, September 10th. Okay. External stakeholder relations.
The minutes are in the packet. I just want to make sure everyone is aware of the open house on September 9th and the VIP legislative branch. And I believe that was the save date. Or no, you could RSVP. It was sent out, was that last week?
It's for the 10th.
Yeah, for the 10th.
Okay, thank you. Performance oversight and monitoring.
Committee met Monday and reviewed updated procurement policies and the CPO evaluation form for this year.
Okay.
Next meeting is December.
November 17th. That's what it says on here. Okay, great.
Sounds good.
All right, Planning and Development Committee, we did meet on Tuesday, and we did review a draft budget, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more further on in the agenda. There was also minutes in the packet from our meeting on July 23rd. Transit planning, anything to share?
No, just the next meeting is October 13th.
Okay, great. General Manager CEO report. Pam, do you want to give that report? Please.
We have the update in the packet. I just have a few things to add to that. Today, we officially wrapped up our triennial review. I'm happy to share it was a very positive experience. We had a reviewer, Greg Harnett with TFC Consulting, and Daryl Harper was our FTA representative, and he joined virtually. He ended the session today by complimenting our staff for the thoroughness in completing the prep work, making sure everything was labeled correctly and easy for him to find and go through those documents. And he just said it was overall a great experience for him. And I want to thank our leadership team for pulling together and making this a priority over the last 2 days, because with everything else going on, I know it was a lot on everyone's plate, especially LaTasha and Patrick. They did an excellent job. So looking ahead, the review exit conference is scheduled for August 28th at 3 o'clock. And we'll expect to receive a draft report, which will include any findings they may have on September 29th. And then the final report will be issued on October 31st. Additionally, our summer youth pass program continued to see strong use this year, with 54 passes sold total. 36 were sold through token transit and 18 were paper passes. Of the digital passes, only 75% were activated, but 964 youth trips were taken. So overall, even though the sales dipped a little, about 8%, the program remains an important way for our students to get around during the summer. And with the help of Fort Wayne Community School Face Center, they helped promote that. And I think with earlier promotion next year, we could see even greater success in that program. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Pam? Okay. Moving on to the controller reports.
Sorry. I'm moving a little slow. It's been a long 4 days. Okay, so we have our July financials for you all in the packet, and we are just have a few highlights as usual. We did operate within the budget, so we're happy to report that. We had 10.7 million in expenses year to date through July, which was about 750,000 less than the budgeted number. Our expenses were higher than the prior year due to the continued reasons that we've stated throughout the year about higher wages and fringes, pass-through purchase transportation, and corporate insurance fees. We did continue to increase vehicle repairs, fuel savings, and professional services. The timing, we started experiencing some savings there. When looking at our budget, we did experience some cost savings when it comes to the health insurance, and again, the fuel and the vehicle repairs, and wages, just when compared to the budget, we did have some savings there. As far as revenues, our revenues were slightly higher than the prior year at 11.3 million. Our operating revenue is continuing to do pretty strong with the revised contractual agreements and the paratransit ridership and fares. So that is still doing well. And we did have some higher local income tax and 5310 pass-through income when compared to the prior year. when looking at the budget for revenue, we were a little lower than the budget, about 7%. And that's just due to, we haven't had to tap into our cash reserve so far. We are lower than the budget at this point, which is a good thing. That means that we're doing good with cost containment. As far as our capital projects, we are still short of the budget at about $208,000, just due to timing, as I said before. We are making strides with the CAT ABL, so we're looking to have that launched pretty soon. And there is still the underground storage delay. As far as cash position, we're at 5.2 million this month, as of July, which is a little lower than it was the prior month. I don't know if there's any questions on that, but the record for transmittals is in your packets for July, and then you have the interim transmittals for August.
Thanks. Any questions for Latasha? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the record of transmittals for July and the interim records of transmittal for August.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Khan, a second by Nelson for approval of the records of transmittals as stated. Any discussion? Okay, I will call the vote. Conrad?
Aye.
Kyle?
Yes.
Nelson?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Raleigh? Aye. Khan?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the introduction and/or adoption of resolutions and ordinances. We have two on the agenda. The first one is labeled outsourced paratransit. It is R05-2025. I would like to note at the outset, the header on the resolution says agenda item number 9. It should be changed to agenda item 7A. Other than that, is anybody prepared to discuss this?
I'll take that.
Okay.
Okay, so the resolution in front of you is intended to authorize management with legal counsel to outsource paratransit services and to award the contract to VIA, which is formerly, I forget, Tidewater. Is that right? This has been the subject of months of investigation into the best provider for the services and negotiations with the union. This will be subject to final approval from the union, an agreement as it relates to their wages and benefits that will ultimately be paid through VIA. So, but in order to move forward and hopefully get this all done in a timely manner, we would ask that the board authorize the outsourcing report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Rachel on this?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution R05-2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Fawn and a second by Melissa to approve resolution 05-2025. Any discussion? Is Conrad gone?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Can we get him back on camera? Because in order to vote, he needs to be seen.
I'm on the camera, but I see it. I can see you, but I don't know why you can't see me.
Yeah, it's fixed now. We can see you. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Call for the vote. Conrad?
Aye.
Kyle?
Yes.
Nelson?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Raleigh? Pom?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next resolution up is R06-2025 and labeled leasing the fleet. Again, the header on this page should say agenda item 7B. We could amend that. And take it, Rachel, you're up again.
I am up again. This resolution is intended to work in conjunction with the first resolution as part of the outsourcing of paratransit. We would also like to lease our current fleet of vehicles to VIA. And this will allow the organization to maintain the vehicles in-house. It will enable us to ensure that our maintenance staff stays at the level that they're at ideally, and will also give us some control assurance that vehicles are being maintained to proper FTA standards. And in the instance that something would not work out with VIA, it would enable a smooth transition to bring the service back in without major disruption. So.
One other thing I'm really sure is when the number of the previous resolution was put into the body of this one, it says 6-2025, it should be 5-2025 in the third paragraph. Versus R. Is that before anybody knew?
Okay. Well, let's see. It is 6. On top?
Well, no, down here it should be 5 because it says in a previous resolution.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so
So it's referencing this resolution.
the previous one. Got
Right.
it.
So since 5 was already passed,
Then
we're
reference
referencing 5
You're
and
right.
5.
All right, thank you. Okay. Is there any questions for Rachel? All right, so noting the amendments to this resolution.
So I'm gonna make an amendment to the resolution on the third whereas, changing the reference to R06-2025, change to R05-2025.
Second on the amendment to the resolution.
Second.
Okay, I'll just pick one. Okay. So we have a motion by Fawn and a second by Raleigh to amend the motion. Any discussion? To amend the resolution. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Kyle?
Yes.
Conrad?
Aye.
Conrad? Sorry, I looked at Nelson and said Conrad. It's okay. Nelson? Melissa? Raleigh?
Yes.
Fawn?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay.
Now I'll make a motion to approve resolution R06-2025.
Second.
We have a motion by Fawn and a second by Nelson to approve resolution R06-2025. Any discussion? Okay, I will call for the vote. Can we see Conrad again?
Am I not on there again? I don't know why I keep going off.
No, it's not
Okay.
you. I think it's on our side.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. Okay, Raleigh. Aye. Fawn. Aye. Melissa.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kyle.
Yes.
Conrad.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution passes. All right. Next, under old business, we have approval of the 2026 operating and capital budget.
We are trying to get, presentation of without this off to the back. Everything's not showing, so.
You know, this is. Not really. I know what you meant.
Not the minutes, right?
95 minutes after.
It's intense.
Yes, I do like that talk all night.
Oh, so it's on.
All right.
You get word.
Okay.
It's not actually Stephen right here. Step out of the chair. Alright. Sorry, it's okay. It's a little bit of a slight issue, but thank you for your patience. I know I sent the packet out to the board, but I'm just gonna hit the highlights. I don't need to go through that packet in detail, so hopefully you all had time to read it if you wanted to know, great detail about the budget. The budget that I'm presenting today is going to be, it's a budget since we're in negotiations and nothing is settled, it is a budget if there was no negotiation, there was no nothing of that. Because we do need to have a budget approved for the city. City deadline is that we have something in their system by August 28th. So we are presenting a budget that does not consider that. So I just want to make that upfront. So if you look in the packet and you're wondering, what is this? That is why you're seeing what you're seeing. But with that said, we're going to start and go to the next one. Sorry. Okay, so like I said, this are the different milestones that we need to hit for the budget. I just wanted to remind you all, there was some adjustments when we were talking to the city, corresponding with the city last week. We're presenting the budget today to get approved. We'll get it in the gateway by the end of the month. And then there will be a introduction September 9th. And then the hearing was moved up. It was on the 23rd, now it's the 16th. I think the earlier timeline was sent out maybe a month ago or so. And then as far as adoption, right now it is scheduled for October 14th with the city, but because they are waiting on assessed values to settle up their revenue, it may get pushed back to October 28th, just to let you all know. So we are kind of moving around a little bit with the city based off what's going on with them. Okay. Again, I'm sure you all know these are strategic goals, and obviously our main goal right now is financial sustainability. I won't go through that. I'm sure you've all seen these, so we'll move on. Just these are the operating revenues that we have budgeted, and I'll hit the highlights of that. We have total $20,776,431. I did make a slight adjustment from the committee, like $20,000 based off some capital estimates that we trued up. But it's basically the same that our committee saw on Tuesday. And you'll see that it is a little less than what we had budgeted last year, less than 1%. And we'll get into that when it comes to the expense side, because that's going to start driving the revenues that are needed to sustain ourselves for next year. As far as the highlights, passenger fares, we have a 3% increase expected. We are doing well with fair transit at this time. The fixed route fares are slightly looking a little down, but the paratransit is doing still very well. Other operating, that's our contractual revenues and our advertising. That's doing, very strong right now. We're at a 19% increase that we are expecting. State funding, as you all know, is flat, so we get no additional state funding there. Our local taxes, and I want to explain this because it may look like we're getting an increase in property taxes on the growth side, and we are on the growth side. But if you look at the line, the property tax cap credit, it is increasing. And if you take those two lines together, we actually are getting a net decrease of 3%. And that's because, as I talked to the city last week, the state, they were saying that the local debt that was issued, the school, the library, that is affecting our cap credit. And that's also the effects of SB1. The new legislation is also in that as well. So you see that has a big impact on our revenue. As far as federal funding, we do see an increase there. We did get the 5307, the paratransit, additional funds there. And some of our 5310 funds are going to us next year, versus all to CTN. So we do get an increase there. Otherwise, those are the main highlights from the revenue side. One thing that we'll talk about is you'll see that this line that says fund operating reserve, and that's in 2025, we're projecting we're going to use that much of our operating reserves. In 2026, to balance, we're going to still need to use that if we go with this budget here that's being adopted here, or trying to get adopted here. We will still need that to balance our expenses, okay? So going on to expenses, on the expense side, we don't have this, sorry, question? Okay, yeah, sure.
So how's that property tax cap credit separated? Because that's more than double, and what I've seen is not doubling.
That is the amount he gave me when I had my workshop, and he broke it out on this is the regular, this is the effects on he said 10%.
But it was all under property tax cap credit?
Yes. I could think he may have given me something to show the breakout.
Okay, I'm curious to see that, because that's not, like most of the other entities I've seen, there is an increase, but not more than double.
That's what he showed me, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and actually, our 2025, I think the true number, because they give you the estimate at the end of the year, I think it came out to like 600,000, so, but it's still way different. So, yeah. On the expense
So just
side,
real quick,
sorry.
you're saying Quantic should be lower?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm curious. I'd like to see the numbers that he presented.
okay, sure. No problem, I can send you over that file. As far as revenues goes, expenses, we're down with revenues, unless we have some more questions. Do we have any more questions? Okay, all right. So on the expense side, we're gonna hit the highlights as well. As far as, we do have the same amount of expenses as revenues to have a balanced budget. The salaries and wages at the top, let's start at the top, those are declining by 1%. And that is a result of a couple of different factors. We have a cost of living adjustment estimated for our non-union and our non-union staff and our union staff. Obviously, those are still in negotiations. We don't know where that will end up. We also, and I believe Matt and Pam are going to talk about this later, is the optimization plan that's going to cause some attrition of some drivers. We're expecting about 5 less full-time drivers, but we will be done through attrition, no layoff or anything of that sort. And so that allows us to stay relatively flat, even slightly going down when it comes to salary and wages as we try to focus on cost containment. As far as fringe benefits, those are going up about 2%, and that's even though wages are going down, and that's because of the pension contribution, primarily because we, in last year's CBA, we said we would give them an additional 2% employer contribution towards that to help us with our liability that's on the books, which is needed. As far as the rest of the fringes, it's just a normal 5 to 10% increase going on there. As far as materials and supplies, you'll see a 9% decrease going on there. We're still experiencing fuel savings, and we are expecting to continue to have those. So we have decreased the budgeted price per gallon for fuel, which is obviously our biggest material that we use. And some of the other materials, we also are expecting a decrease with the route optimization plan as well. That will also affect fuel somewhat too, because we'll be doing less mileage. So services, they're going down by 10%. And that's mainly just some of the one-time initiatives or initiatives that we had in the prior year. We're not going to do this year, or they were just one time. One of the, for instance, like a cybersecurity assessment, we removed that for now, just not having the bandwidth to really address it, and we may be able to get around that doing the study of that magnitude that as we were trying to do before. Utilities, we won't speak on that. That's pretty flat. Insurance is
Hold on.
another.
We're not doing a cybersecurity assessment?
I think they were trying to look at some other avenues instead of doing like a $50,000 assessment with the company, trying to figure out another way to address it, but not do it the way that we were trying to do it before. So, yeah, you have a concern. She has a concern.
I have large concerns because, I mean, it could take down our entire ability to, if we got hacked, we may not be able to run our system.
I've been there before. I had that happen too. I understand the concerns.
And if you take that off, like, doesn't that raise our possibility of being hacked?
Well, I'll let this IT say something to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as far as, so the assessment is just sort of an assessment to see where we are and how we can make it more secure. Right now, we've already done everything we can to make it as secure as possible. As of right now, we're just exploring different avenues, seeing what's available. Is there anything we can implement that would be different? So just rest assured that we are implementing, we've already increased our security at different levels to ensure that we are safe and we have, backups and things of that nature. So.
And we're within the guidelines of what's been provided for us by state and federal agencies.
Okay. You good? Move on.
Any more questions?
Okay, all right, insurance. This is one that is one of my, that's probably going up the most. And it seems like a big jump, 32%. And primarily, that's our corporate insurance is going up. It went up about 15% just on the corporate insurance alone. And that is because of some difference in coverage levels that we're gonna have for our vehicles. They did go up a little bit as far as the coverage level. Also our claim history, the market trend, that went up there. We also are trying to seek some additional insurance, like if the bus is getting accidents, because right now, really we just have insurance on it. Whoever the opposing person gets covered, the opposing vehicle gets covered, and if it's stored in our building, it's covered. Otherwise, it's a self-insured retention level. It comes out of our pocket when it comes to our vehicles. So we are adding some to our reserves because our claim history, we do need to make sure we have enough to cover all the claims that are coming through. Yes. So otherwise, I think the rest, I think I picked the highlights on the expenses, our capital contribution. We can talk a little bit more about that. The capital budget that's included in the packet is fairly consistent to last year. We did postpone some of the projects that we planned in 2025, and so they are going into 2026. Was there any more questions on this in particular? Okay, so this is the 5-year forecast, and as I said, for 2026, we would have to use some of our reserves, which basically represents that we have a deficit in 2026. If we have to use our own reserves, just like if you have to use your savings account to pay your bills. You don't really want to be in that situation. So that's the same case it will be in 2027, and then in 2028, you will see a larger deficit pop out that we really can't cover with the reserves that we have currently on hand. You'll see that at the bottom, that 1.5 million, and then 2029 goes up to 2.4, and then in 2030 is the $3 million deficit. So we really see the need that there has to be something done internally to kind of counteract those deficits that are going to start popping out in the next 5 years. So, okay. Any questions from the floor?
Are you going through other expenses too, or are you just doing that one page?
Yeah, I'm just doing highlights. Because I did the detailed expenses as a committee, so.
I had a couple
But if
questions.
you have questions, we can definitely address it. Okay?
So under services, the professional and technical was decreased by 30%. What's all included in that, and why was there's such a decrease?
So that's the, go to that line. So the 100,000, like I said, the 50,000 number was the cybersecurity.
Okay.
30, I think about 35, almost 40 was a PTCI study that was going to be included in 2025. We didn't even end up doing it. I don't think John foresaw that the PTCI group was going to do this study. So that's $85,000 of that already. So that's the bulk of the $100,000. That was the decrease in that professional and technical. And professional and technical, that is typically like, if we use any consultants, that's our auditors, that's our actuary, that don't flow through the pension plan. As any consultant for any area, it could be marketing, I have had some consultants. It could be training costs are in there as well.
And then travel and meeting went up by 49%. Are we anticipating more travel?
We are. It was a desire of our CEO to put training back into the plans, because we did forego some of that this year to try to help with the budget, but there are training needs among the staff, and it needs to go to conferences like the ACTA conference for training purposes. So that was restored.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so no more questions on that. We'll move on. Okay. 2026 budget. This is just some highlights of what we're planning to do, which is not probably too much different from 2025. We always are going to spend probably the most on our vehicles, which you see here, 62% is going to be spent on vehicle replacements. We are planning to do the hybrids next year. And we're thankful for that grant seems like it's going to go ahead and go through. And then we're not going to have any hiccups getting that funding there. We are planning to do just one minibus, and we did hold off this year on buying service vehicles, and some of them are getting quite old, so we do plan to replace some of those service vehicles. So that's part of the 62%, which is the bulk of it. The other large thing is in the facilities we have, which is the underground storage tank replacement, which kind of keeps getting kind of pushed down the road as we keep trying to get through some hurdles, some like FTA hurdles to get that off the ground. But that grant does seem like it's finally going through, so we will have the funds available for Jason to start working on that. And we also have some other facility things they want to do, the bus wash, which has been on the agenda for a long time, generator leaks, and some Leesburg Road building upkeep that does need to be done on the outside of the building. Otherwise, the other things that are there are probably more smaller. We really want to get that facility needs assessment done because we really don't know all the needs of the building at this point, both facilities of what we might need, a long-range plan, and the rest is kind of normal stuff, the hardware, the software, video security, bus shelters, and we do plan to complete that fare collection project with the actual changing of the fare boxes, so that is on the agenda. And then this is just a look at our 10-year plan. If you happen to look at it, this is kind of summarizing it. Like I said, we want that facility needs to make that a more robust plan. But right now, looking in the future, we do want to replace the Leesburg roof. We do want to get an HVAC system The bus voice replacement, I know we did quite a bit of some repairs on it, this year, but looking down, it's been like 4 years or so. It goes kind of bad. We do want to like do a complete replacement because they are quite old, so, but these are just some of the things that we have in the docket. I do have this number here highlighted, the 13.3 million, because we are seeing that based on what we know now, we are going to need some additional funding to help us to do all these projects that we have planned for the next 10 years. So, otherwise, that's what I have, and there are any other questions that you may have. We'll take them.
Any questions? You asked some good questions, so. What? Is he coming?
You just walked by. Is he going that way or
He
why would he
must
go
have.
in over there?
I don't know.
Maybe he parked maybe
45 seconds away, probably.
We're questioning your decisions, Conrad.
This is how the end of the meeting. There's no questions.
Well, I'll take this moment to thank you, Latasha, for all of your hard work and your team for putting together the budget. I know it's been a bit of a moving target. And so, and with the triennial, we really appreciate all the work put into putting together the budget. So thank you for that. Here comes Conrad, so.
All right, here I am, better. I can get a hybrid vote, some on the screen and some in person. Probably the first time we've done that, at least, I guess I'm off the box.
You're breaking records all over the place. So, did you get to hear most of the presentation?
Yes, I heard it all,
Do
yeah.
you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 operating and capital budget.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Fawn and a second by Kyle to approve the budget. Any discussion? All right, now we don't have to do a roll call vote anymore. So I will, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much, Latasha. Okay, we have one item under new business. It's the route optimization plan, and we have Matt and Pam on.
And just helping with questions. He's going to do the presentation.
Oh, it's Matt.
Okay, everybody. Let's do this. I didn't give you the presentation, my apologies for that, but it is in your packet, the presentation that we gave to the committee and to the drivers and staff at the meeting a couple Sundays ago. Yes, yeah. So the packet does include the numbers that we kind of based some of our decisions on. It was the data from our APCs along with driver input and things like that, and of course like ride-alongs and things like that, that we made these decisions. The thing that stuck out the most to me was we had a lot of overlap in our southeast portion of the city. And so I made it a goal to try to make it more efficient on the southeast. And with that, we have these plans for our fixed route services. We're going to delete the 5 southeast local route, which is the small deviation bus that we use on the southeast side of town. Almost all of that route overlapped with another route of some variety. And then I decided to delete the 7 Anthony Oxford route. That's the half-hour service on the 7. So we would still have the 7, what we call now the 7 Anthony Creighton, but that would just be, it would be restructured a little bit. And so with those two, and one other note that, so on that takes away 4 essentially drivers spots on weekdays and then 1 on Saturday. The 5 runs on Saturday, but the 7 Anthony Oxford does not. So then with that, to kind of cover what I took away, we put in the 3, we changed the 3 Village Woods. We restructured it to remove Paulding east of Hessen Castle. We removed Wayne Trace at Tillman, and then Hessen Castle south of Paulding. And we put that on a different route in order to make room and accommodate a time adjustment for adding Fairfield from Paulding to Burns and then Burns to Calhoun. Currently, the 5 goes down Fairfield to, Concord, thank you. The Concord Street is big enough for the small deviation bus. It's not big enough for a full-size fixed route bus. They have parking on both sides, and we already deal with enough accidents as it is, so let's not add to it. So we're going to go Fairfield from Paulding to Burns, then Burns to Calhoun, Calhoun down to Tillman, and then we're taking Tillman over to Hannah so we can head north on Hannah to take care of our friends at Silver Birch and Tamara Gardens. The Tamara Gardens stop would be a call-in stop. That way they don't have to go over there every hour if no one's over there. And then on the inbound, instead of having them go straight across Pettit back to Fairfield, we're going to have them take Pettit to Lafayette north to Rudisill, where we make a left to accommodate the folks at Bowen Center and Rudisill Plaza. And because the 5 currently is the only thing that services that Bowen Center there. So those are the changes to the 3. The 6, McKinney, we would remove McKinney on the outbound, so we might want to change the name of the route. And then we would remove Hessen Castle between Oxford and McKinney. It's just a short little portion of the road there on the inbound. And then we would remove Warsaw on the inbound. And I would add Oxford from Hannah to Hessen Castle on the outbound to cover what the 7 Oxford currently does. And then we would add Hessen Castle from McKinney to Paulding, Wayne Trace, Tillman, and then Hessen Castle back to McKinney. So that covers what we're taking away from the 3 to be able to cover what the 3 is taking from the 5. And then we're going to add Hannah from Oxford to the Urban League to cover what the 5 currently does on the inbound. So that's why we're taking away that Warsaw portion on the inbound, so they can stay straight on Hannah. And then on the hour 7 Anthony, we're going to remove Anthony from Pontiac to Creighton, and Creighton from the inbound, and then add Pontiac from Anthony to Hannah on the inbound to cover what the 5 currently does, which is to give the Pontiac street coverage. So in the packet, you'll see the side-by-side of the current map compared to the changes, the proposed changes for next year. And that kind of gives you a glimpse of my vision there. So with that, everything is still covered in some capacity except for a small section of Pontiac between Hannah and Calhoun, as well as Fairfield and Concord. Like I said, Concord is not big enough for our fixed route buses. All of those portions that do not have service anymore are less than 1,600 feet from a bus stop, which is the recommended distance that, what folks recommend to have between stops or to, have coverage. So we thankfully stayed within that 1,600 feet limit. So for passengers that are out on Pontiac and Tamara Gardens, Silver Birch, and the Bowen Center, they now have a low floor vehicle that they'll be getting on and off of, which we think will be easier compared to the deviation bus where they have steps, they have a slow wheelchair lift, and things like that. We hope that the low floor bus will be a more accessible option for them and give them, less issues for any physical needs that they might have. Passengers that are riding the 5 now have a straight access to downtown without having to transfer to a different fixed route bus before getting there, so that's a good thing. And then I want to point out that we still have 7 buses every hour with a presence in southeast Fort Wayne, east of Calhoun and south of downtown. So while it does look like we're taking a lot from the southeast, we still have a lot of coverage still there in some capacities. So while there is a lot of coverage, what takes a hit is the frequency. While some people now only have to wait a half hour, they're going to look more like the rest of the town where they have to wait the hour for that bus. We'll have to create some new time points for many stops, existing stops, and new ones that we'll need to put in place for the restructured routes. And then the big one is some passengers who previously rode on like the 5 to the Southtown Walmart or the Southgate Kroger will no longer have direct access to those. They'll have to get on a different bus, which is a disappointment. And then we'll also lose a straight straight route for the passengers from Tamara Gardens and Silver Birch that ride to Southtown Walmart. They now will have to ride downtown to connect with another bus to get to Southgate Kroger or the Southtown Walmart. So that's a disappointment. But I didn't know how else to do it.
So question, is this section of the community the only place that's getting hit?
As for right now, we are making other looks on the north side. The problem, Melissa, is on the north side. Most of it is already spread out and there's very little overlap. Where there is overlap, it is on like the North Crest. It overlaps with a few other routes. So that is something that we're looking at. One of the fixes though would include the Parkview route. So we need to make sure that Parkview is okay with us changing some of their time points because we would need it to meet at Randalia when the hour 4 gets there, which it currently does not do. So we are looking at some other options, but because it includes that MedLink route, we have to work pretty closely with Parkview to make those changes. So
I guess the one thing I'm really concerned about is not only is the south side getting hit with routes, they're getting hit with now they got to move to an hour and now they have to transfer buses as well. Is there any way to minimize the multiple hits on a community that's already getting pummel.
Yeah, they're already transferring buses, right now. It's just gonna be.
Oh, it's not an added, that's not something
necessarily.
added? Oh, okay.
So like the folks on the 5 they're meeting the 8, they're meeting the 7, the 6 at different locations throughout the southeast. The ones that will have the added transfer, will be, like I said, Timber Gardens and Silver Birch. They typically would ride, that 5 to either Southgate or Southtown Walmart. So that's being taken away. So unfortunately, for me in this decision-making process, the rest of our system is already at that hour, schedule. So I couldn't take away things from them necessarily when they're already at the base. They're already at rock bottom, kind of. So that's why it looks like I'm picking on the southeast, but that's just where we had the most frequency. They still have the 8 that will have half-hour service, so that'll be able to get them to Southgate, Kroger twice an hour, and the Southtown Walmart twice an hour. But that does go down like Calhoun to Paulding. It's a pretty straight shot. So yeah, there's less crisscross on the routes now.
I would add too, that the 5 line that he's referring to is one of our lowest ridership routes. So it isn't affecting a large number of people, because I believe it usually falls either second to last or third to last in ridership numbers, so.
But isn't everybody transferring to 5? Or
No.
are they transferring to 3? Sorry.
They will.
Some of them are picked up under the 3 and the 6.
Right, but the 5 line is the one that he's referring to where they'll have to go downtown to get where they're going.
So it's not an
very-
added transfer.
It's a small number of people that are being affected by this. It's not a large number of people in the southeast.
Yeah.
It's very low ridership numbers on that bus.
And that's a point-to-point bus. That bus does not go downtown. So in order for
Right.
folks to go downtown to transfer, they actually have to get on another bus
On
and do
another
that,
bus.
because the 5 doesn't transfer into downtown. I think the other thing when we went through the TDP and looked at some route restructuring last time is that the 30-minute pickups are great for our higher use routes, but because we're on 60-minute headways, if they come downtown and it's not at a 60-minute point, they're having to wait anyway.
Yes.
So I think unless you're, it's nice to have 30 minutes on the higher use routes because the buses aren't quite as full. But until we can change our total headway system to a 30-minute headway, the 30-minute routes are not as fast as you might think if they have to transfer a bus.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So that was what we had learned before. One of the questions I have is, in the area where you're eliminating service on Pontiac between Hannah and Calhoun, and Pontiac, because the new grocery store is on Pontiac, I'm just really thoughtful about Pontiac. Did you have any high-use stops
The
in that
section
area?
that is eliminated had 0 riders in the last 6 months.
Okay, that was my question. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that I asked. I know he did his presentation at the meeting that we had on that Sunday, and I had some follow-up questions. I was concerned. It concerns me that someone who was able to get a direct route to a grocery store now has to transfer, with their groceries. That's concerning. And then the elimination of a couple of stops. So that was, one of the things that that was also addressed. I mean, nobody wants for service to be cut at all. But I think if we're doing it based on data and eliminating stops that aren't being utilized. And then at that presentation, Matt also said that this is not set in stone. He's open to and hopes to work with bus drivers and anyone else who might have ideas of how to really help to restructure some of these routes so that, even a few people impacted is a huge impact. Like if I'm a mom and I have 3 kids at the bus stop and I have to wait, a long time or transfer or whatever, it's still an impact.
Right.
But I'm glad that it's open to still, be discussed and worked on, but
And even long-term, this isn't our final decision. We hope it's just temporary until we get more support, fingers crossed, and can build off of this foundation that we have and this kind of bare minimum that we have, and can start to grow our service where the numbers show that we need it. So.
I do have another question. So at what point will this plan go into?
It would probably be the start of 2026, so January 2nd.
And so that's what Natasha based those numbers off of.
Yeah.
What other savings will we see besides just the route efficiencies will decrease the number of drivers that we'll need? We'll still have the same number of buses.
Yeah, they would be less on the road by there'd be one less bus on the road. No, there'd be two less buses on the road, yeah, on a given day. So that helps a little bit. And then so it's mostly just, less buses on the road to help with the maintenance aspect of it, and we're not completely at capacity with what's either on the road or in the garage, and then the less drivers and cost per hour with those routes is where the savings are.
I'm interested just to know what the total savings is. We're able to see a little bit what the salary is, but eliminating the routes.
I can get you the number, but I don't have it right now, but we did trim down the fuel. Basically, we estimated, I think it was like 8% reduction in mileage. So it would cut down the fuel needed, it cuts down, the different, maintenance items that go along with that. So whatever, we trimmed down some of all the maintenance by looking at the decrease in mileage.
I'm just wondering how big of an impact is this?
It's I can get you a number if you want to see a total.
Is it impactful enough to make these changes? Like, I can understand eliminating stops where we don't have people. Do you know what I mean? But is it impactful enough to really make these changes?
We don't have the number in front of us, but I believe it was just shy of $1 million.
Yeah, I was going to say
It
was in
she
the
just said $980,000 she thought.
Yeah. So that's impactful.
Yes.
That's very impactful.
I think we all would have, I think I can speak for our whole leadership team to say that I don't think we would have considered this if it weren't this type of savings.
I think it's good to quantify. When we're signing off on saying, I think it's important to quantify that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she obviously, so I have to vote.
Yeah, we should have put that in the information. I apologize for that.
Have you done any cost estimates on the new signs, removal of signs, changing of any infrastructure pieces like bus pads or bus shelters that exist currently that might be along these routes that you will have to remove or relocate? I mean, have you looked into that? Because that's a cost of doing
It
this.
is. It is not something we've looked at. The city has been working with us in creating the new signs and moving them to where we need them to. It's been an ongoing project.
But now you're gonna have to remove all of
Yeah,
that.
so a lot of it, if it's not there, and we told them to be there before, we can stop that before they do it. And then between us and the city, who has helped us without charging us to make those sign changes and things like that. So far, between the two entities, I think we can make the changes without too much of a cost. That I think the biggest, and Jason would probably know more, is with the actual shelters, if there are shelters that need moved or benches and that sort of thing. we have not looked into those costs
And will
yet.
that likely, Casey, impact the contract with our advertiser?
Yeah, it could. I would have to look at where the shelters are along those routes to know how many are being changed. We don't have a ton of shelters, so I suppose that's a good thing in this one moment.
I think those will be minimal because we're still covering most of the same area. There's just a few small areas that won't have coverage, and we're really not adding areas. We're just realigning the routes so they're more efficient.
And some other things that we're doing is we are about to print schedules and maps, but we're printing very small quantities of these these ones that have changes, or may not print them at all depending on how far we are, to save there. And then once we know where we're going, we'll reprint those with a transit federally funded grant.
One of the things that we talked about quite a bit when we did the last TEP was the potential to work on that Parkview and that Medlink route and looking at taking that from the 5-day-a-week, 8 to 5, just between Randalia and PRMC, to incorporating it as a part of a longer fixed route that operates during our normal operating hours. Have we gotten
In the
anywhere?
conversation I've had with Parkview, they have said we're the experts in transit and they're happy to work with us in what we need. That's the last conversation we had. So I have confidence that if we tell them this is what we need, that they've been good partners in the past and have indicated they would continue to be so.
Yeah, and what we've been looking at is, and when I say we, I mean me, and I've mentioned it to Pam, because it just essentially came to me in the last week and a half. Currently, the One North Crest overlaps another route almost in its entirety. So my thought process is to have it start at Parkview Randalia when the Fort Parkview gets there. And that would be the connector for anybody that needs to go to North Crest or, essentially anything on the One North Crest north of State Street. And then south of State Street, it's covered by the 3 Canterbury, the 2 Georgetown and things like that. And once you get downtown, it was, everybody crisscrosses and goes on the same routes a lot. So if we eliminated the One North Crest and covered everything with either the 3 Canterbury and the amended Parkview Medlink route, then we would have everything covered. And if you look at the data that's in the packet there, the One North Crest is one of the lower ridership fixed routes. It's just south of 7 Anthony Oxford, and only the deviation and the Medlink are underneath it. So that would be my favorite.
The details. We have to
So
look at.
I don't have that drawn out yet. I don't have the times, points matched up to make sure that we can make sure everything works. But the way it is, it's essentially the same route already. So I'm pretty sure it'll work out.
So it seems like you still are working on this and.
Yes. Yeah, it will continue to work on it.
So we can expect like a refined kind of final presentation once you.
Yeah, if you want that included, we can
Since
definitely,
it's gonna be implemented in January, like, do we have a timeline? Because we gotta get it out to the public with what.
yeah, we definitely want to start getting out to the public by October, I would think, to give a good 3 months of getting it out to the public and making sure, just based on how everything was received for the, the new token transit and the new fares, we did 6 weeks.
Six days a week during all of our service hours, that's going to affect our access ridership because we'll have to provide access service as well at the lower rate at the access versus access plus. So that will affect revenues as well. So we have to look at the total impacts of that. Change wouldn't be able to happen as quickly as the others.
But is this, I'm sorry, but what you proposed on the southeast side, is that finished?
We're prepared
Yeah.
to.
Essentially, we just have to redo the stops on the routes and create the new time points, and it will be ready.
So you're proposing to move forward with this and
Continue to look at the rest of the service.
And the estimate you gave that we're gonna get a little more concrete on is with just this optimization, there could
That's
be
correct.
additional savings with the North Crest and all the other things.
Yes.
And so in the time between you giving the presentation and saying that you were still making changes, no changes have been made, no other optimizations, no driver feedback?
I have not received any driver feedback on this proposed change since the meeting.
The feedback I have received has all been positive. The drivers were excited, and a lot of these, as we stated, a lot of the drivers have given him these ideas too. So a lot of this comes from the drivers, so. Yes.
So maybe what I can recommend is that outreach and the outreach plan for this and the communications for this, being like a phased approach, have that be upfront, so that the public knows what to expect, and then maybe review that with the external stakeholder relations committee, as far as like those plans for outreach. I don't know that you have to have public hearings. I assume you have to do a Title VI review. I know that there's other things that probably need to happen.
Yeah, Casey and I have already discussed that she's gonna start doing that Title VI review. She's looked at it and it doesn't look like it has an impact, but she's gonna do the full review to verify.
Okay, well, I don't think we're voting tonight then, right? This was just for your information.
Right.
Thank you so much for all of your hard work. I know this is difficult work. And the planning side, are you a remix expert now?
Getting closer. Watch a lot of videos to figure it out. Of course, yeah.
Is there any more questions for Matt?
And if any come to mind, feel free to reach out.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on, communications from the public, none. Anything for open discussion this evening? Okay, with that, I guess we're adjourned. Thank you.